issues that
You're watching live from New Delhi. This is DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches Jal Sanchay Jan Bhagidari water harvesting and public participation initiative, says it's time to reduce, reuse, recharge and recycle water. Ukraine presses for long-range strike support. US, Germany, Canada pledge more military aid. Meanwhile, NATO calls for an end to Beijing's Russia backing. US job growth misses expectations in August. Unemployment rate slips to 4.2%. And sixth gold medal for India at the Paralympics in Paris. Praveen Kumar wins gold in the men's high jump T64 final. Total medal tally touches 26. To further the vision of water security, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched Jal Sanchay Jan Bhagidari initiative, which means water harvesting public participation initiative in the western Indian state of Gujarat. The game-changing program aims to ensure long-term water sustainability, and it has approximately 24,800 rainwater harvesting structures which are spread across the country with the community partnership. Prime Minister Modi's visionary remarks had one message with a big mandate that it is time to reduce, reuse, recharge and recycle water. I get you more in this report.
हमारी सरकार ने होल ऑफ सोसाइटी और होल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट के अप्रोच के साथ काम किया है। आप 10 वर्षों की सभी बड़ी योजनाओं को देखिए। पानी से जुड़े विषयों पर पहली बार साइलोज को तोड़ा गया। हमने होल ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट के कमिटमेंट पर पहली बार एक अलग जल शक्ति मंत्रालय बनाया।
With the underlying message that conserving water and protecting environment is deeply rooted in India's cultural ethos, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his launch address of Jal Sanchay Jan Bhagidari or water harvesting public participation initiative spoke on work done in the past decade helmed by Ministry of Jal Shakti or water resources, encompassing whole of government and society approach. Highlighting the necessity of environment and water conservation, Prime Minister Modi pointed out the impact of Jal Jeevan Mission on ground. That water supply to 3 crore households, besides fulfilling water requirements of at least 15 crore rural households, has been achieved.
जल जीवन मिशन के रूप में पहली बार देश ने हर घर जल इसका संकल्प लिया। पहले देश के केवल 3 करोड़ घरों में पाइप से पानी पहुंचता था। आज देश के 15 करोड़ से अधिक ग्रामीण घरों को पाइप से पानी मिलने लगा है। जल जीवन मिशन के जरिए देश के 75% से ज्यादा घरों तक नल से साफ पानी पहुंच चुका है।
Prime Minister Modi remarked that water conservation is not just a policy in India, but integral to India's cultural legacy rooted in traditional consciousness.
हम उस संस्कृति के लोग हैं जहां जल को ईश्वर का रूप कहा गया है, नदियों को देवी माना गया है, सरोवरों को, कुंडों को देवालय का दर्जा मिला है। गंगा हमारी मां है, नर्मदा हमारी मां है, गोदावरी और कावेरी हमारी मां है। ये रिश्ता हजारों वर्षों का है हजारों वर्ष पहले भी हमारे पूर्वजों को जल और जल संरक्षण का महत्व पता था।
Under the ambitious Jal Sanchay Jan Bhagidari program, approximately 24,800 rainwater harvesting structures across the state are being constructed with community partnerships. Prime Minister's address on its launch came with a clear message and clear mandate that it is time to reduce, reuse, recharge and recycle water. Sakal Bhatt's report for DD India. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for phasing out all old vehicles in the country. Addressing the Singapore Business Leaders Summit on Thursday, Prime Minister Modi invited companies to invest in India's electric vehicle market.
मैं सरकार के सारे पुराने व्हीकल स्क्रैप करने की दिशा में जा रहा हूं। इतने बड़े देश में सारे पुराने व्हीकल स्क्रैप होना है, इतना बड़ा काम है। अगर आपकी कंपनियां मान लीजिए इन्वेस्टमेंट करें या खुद इस दिशा में आए और उसके कारण इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल का बहुत बड़ा नया मार्केट बनेगा। जैसे मेरे मन में है कि मैं मेरे देश की मेरी पहली प्रायोरिटी सारे एम्बुलेंसेस, जितने पुराने एम्बुलेंस हैं उन सारे एम्बुलेंस को स्क्रैप कर देना और उन सबको नए, और वो भी हाइब्रिड इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल भी हो और हमारे जो रेगुलर जिस प्रकार का फ्यूल का उपयोग करते हैं, ताकि कभी एम्बुलेंस को रुकने की नौबत ना आ जाए।
In other news, in a landmark revelation, a recent study published in the Nature magazine has highlighted the transformative impact of India's Swachh Bharat mission. The report, authored by researchers from the International Food Policy Research Institute, the University of California and Ohio State University, demonstrates how eradicating open defecation has saved up to 70,000 infant lives annually. Take a look at this comprehensive report filed by DD India's Dibyendu Mondal.
Since its launch in 2014, the Swachh Bharat mission has been credited with a radical change in India's public health landscape. This new research indicates that the mission's focus on sanitation has led to a substantial reduction in infant mortality rate. The paper reveals that between 2015 and 2020, infant mortality rate in India declined 3 times faster when compared to the period from 2000 to 2015. Not just this, the study also reveals that the rate of reduction in infant mortality reached as high as 9% in the post-Swachh Bharat mission era.
When you can see the aggregate data, which is what we do as scientists, we have to rely on the data and the empirics to come up with our conclusions, not just anecdotes. So then we decided that we must test this rigorously. The theory behind this is basically that improvements in sanitation prevent the spread of disease, because any unclean environment will be a place where disease will breed. And especially in rural communities where healthcare access might be low, that might be a big factor there for the spread of disease. And so the theory is basically you reduce the exposure of or the levels of fecal matter in the environment and the disease burden should go down. And then if the disease burden goes down, infant death should go down. So that's the causal link, and that's the link that we explored.
The Swachh Bharat mission has brought in profound behavioral changes across the country. And under the Modi administration, the coverage of toilets increased dramatically, leading to the eradication of open across the country, increasing sanitation and hygiene across every district in India.
There's also child nutrition outcomes which have been affected. So some literature suggests that this is work by Dean Spears, I believe, that toilet access improves child height. And that, so it's basically called stunting and anthropometric failure. That is an indicator of long-term sort of cognitive and health development. And if that improves, then you can expect to see long-term improvements for a person's life. So that has also been linked to sanitation.
The Swachh Bharat mission's benefits extend beyond sanitation. The study finds that areas with higher toilet coverage also report better health outcomes and greater use of piped water supply, suggesting that programs like the Jal Jeevan mission, which has expanded rural piped water coverage from 16% to over 78% in just 5 years, have amplified these positive impacts. As the study shows, Swachh Bharat mission is not just transforming India's sanitation landscape, but is also, in fact, driving a profound change in the public health outcomes of India, saving thousands of lives every year. In fact, a cleaner India is, of course, a healthier India. With camera person Gaurav Giri, this is Dibyendu Mondal from New Delhi for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Coming up next, we get you more on Israeli forces pulling out of Yemen as polio vaccination resumes there. US Vice President Kamala Harris pulls ahead of Trump in fundraising with a strong August. And Seoul says South Korea and Japan stand ready against North Korea.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we will talk about future-ready combat vehicles, a vehicle designed not just for today, but for the battlefields of tomorrow. It is a symbol of India's rising defense capabilities for the next 50 years. We will also tell you about 6716 rifle, known for its robust design and amazing combat performance in the battlefield. Watch all this on Defense Dynamics on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. IST on DD India.
New challenges need new strategies, and technology is already impacting the way we live and we farm.
Based on the spikes and insights which our algorithms suggest, we alert the farmers or whoever the warehouse owner is about what exactly is happening in which part of your warehouse.
The weather in Meghalaya definitely one of the center points of how we design these systems. And let's look at all of this together in terms of what is the solar irradiance that they're getting. Try and design a system that is designed to work in that situation.
It's a pretty good living. Greenhouses have improved the lives of 80 or 90% of Almerians.
You're watching TTN News. I'm Sakal Bhatt. Let's move on now. In the latest developments from the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, the US has pledged an additional $250 million in military aid to Ukraine to enhance Ukraine's defense capabilities. Germany will also be sending arsenal valued at whopping 150 million euros to bolster Ukraine's artillery. On the other hand, Canada is also following suit, providing 80,840 surplus air-to-surface rockets to the war-ravaged nation. Here's more.
As the Russia-Ukraine war continues unabated, the US has pledged another $250 million in weaponry for Kyiv. US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced the military assistance for Kyiv at the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting in Germany.
This is a critical moment. Time is of the essence, especially with winter on its way. And we must all step up our support, and quickly. So I'm pleased to say that President Biden will announce today an additional $250 million security assistance package for Ukraine. It will surge more capabilities to meet Ukraine's evolving requirements, and will deliver them at the speed of war.
Germany will also deliver an additional 12 self-propelled howitzers to Ukraine. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said on the sidelines of Defense Contact Group meeting at Ramstein, Germany.
In addition, and I can announce this for the first time today, this is new information, we will deliver 12 modern type 2000 self-propelled howitzers to Ukraine, 6 of them this year and a further 6 next year, with a total volume of 150 million euros.
Canada has also announced to send 80,840 surplus small armed air-to-surface rockets to Ukraine, as well as 1,300 warheads in the coming months. Defense Minister Bill Blair said Canada will also donate chassis assemblies from 29 M113 armed personnel carriers and 64 Koanet armed cars. At the defense ministers' meet, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky pressed for the use of long-range missiles to a strike inside Russia to bring peace closer to the region.
We need to have this long-range capability not only on the occupied territory of Ukraine, but also on the Russian territory. Yes, so that Russia is motivated to seek peace.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg called on China to stop supporting Russia's war in Ukraine. He asserted that the Beijing support has been a significant factor in the continuation of the conflict.
I call on China to stop supporting Russia's illegal war. China cannot continue to fuel the largest military conflict in Europe without this impacting Beijing's interests and reputation.
Meanwhile, Russian attacks on Ukraine overnight caused fires and injured at least 5 people. In Lviv, drone debris ignited 4 trucks in an industrial zone, prompting a response from 32 firefighters. The US has pledged additional military aid, and NATO is pressing China to halt its support for Russia, highlighting the escalating global tensions and the high stakes of the conflict. The international community is actively working to address the complex geopolitical ramification of the war. Syed Afsarul Hassan reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin has accused the U.S. of applying unacceptable pressure on Russian media after the U.S. Justice Department charged Russian TV contributor Dmitry Simes and his wife with schemes to violate U.S. sanctions. The 2 indictments were announced just one day after the U.S. took several legal actions against Russia to combat alleged efforts to meddle in the 2024 presidential elections, including charging 2 employees of the Russian state media network RT and sanctioning RT and its top network editor. According to Kremlin spokesman, Russia is not seeking to interfere in the U.S. presidential polls, adding that Washington was trying to ensure that Moscow's own perspective on world affairs was not available to people. Amidst ongoing fierce conflict with Ukraine, Russia, President Putin made a big statement and named India along with China and Brazil as possible mediators to establish peace. The statement sees reflection from India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's serious efforts for peace mediation between the warring parties, a situation that was inflicting upon global food and energy insecurity and crises. Here's more.
Since the outbreak of conflict suddenly between Russia and Ukraine on February 24, 2022, Prime Minister Modi had been expressing concern on its global fallout. While reverberations on problems of such a conflict were being felt by many, it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who took the first plunge to talk directly to Russian President Vladimir Putin and made high pitch to stop the war. On September 16, 2022, in Samarkand of Uzbekistan, Prime Minister Modi, in his bilateral meeting on the sidelines of SCO summit with Putin, said the irrelevance of the war by saying the famous words, "This is not an era of war."
आज का युग युद्ध का है नहीं और हमने फोन पर भी कई बार आपसे इस विषय में बात की है कि डेमोक्रेसी और डिप्लोमेसी और डायलॉग ये सारी बातें ऐसी हैं कि जो दुनिया को एक स्पर्श करती है। आने वाले दिनों में शांति के रास्ते पर हम कैसे बढ़ सके उसके विषय में जरूर आज हमें चर्चा करने का मौका मिलेगा। आपका व्यू पॉइंट समझने का मुझे भी एक अवसर मिलेगा।
Prime Minister Modi's bold statement was recognized and appreciated by leaders of most countries, including America. Prime Minister had used the relations between India and Russia and his own personal equation with Putin for depicting irrelevance of such a war. Prime Minister Narendra Modi kept in touch with all stakeholders of peace, including Americans and Ukrainians. Primarily, the consistency made Putin feel India can honestly play a role in the war that is in no one's benefit. On July 9, 2024, Prime Minister Modi visited Russia amidst the conflict that raised eyebrows among many. This was the time when an Ukrainian child hospital was hit by Russian missile, and PM Modi condemned this incident from Russian soil, signaling that he was not in favor of such indecent behavior amidst any conflict. On August 27, 2024, the two leaders exchanged views on the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict over a phone call. Prime Minister shared insights from his recent visit to Ukraine. He underlined the importance of dialogue and diplomacy as well as sincere and practical engagement between all stakeholders to achieve an abiding and peaceful resolution of the conflict. Before that, on his visit to Ukraine on August 24, Prime Minister Modi said that India was not neutral. In his opening remarks during talks with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, PM Modi said India was on the side of peace.
हम न्यूट्रल नहीं थे, हम पहले दिन से ही पक्षकार रहे हैं और हमारा पक्ष है शांति का.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi, before reaching Ukraine, was in Poland, from where he said that no problems can be solved on the battlefield. He emphasized India's support for dialogue and diplomacy for the early restoration of peace and stability.
भारत का यह दृढ़ विश्वास है कि किसी भी समस्या का समाधान रणभूमि में नहीं हो सकता. किसी भी संकट में मासूम लोगों की जान की हानि पूरी मानवता के लिए सबसे बड़ी चुनौती बन गई है. हम शांति और स्थिरता की जल्द से जल्द बहाली के लिए डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी का समर्थन करते हैं.
In between, Prime Minister Modi was also in constant touch with US President Joe Biden for creating an atmosphere of peace. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
Moving on, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has urged both Israel and Hamas to finalize a truce deal, saying that 90% of the deal has been agreed. Few critical issues remain. Germany's Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, who was in Tel Aviv on Friday, said purely that military action in the Gaza will not solve the conflict between Israel and Hamas. On the other hand, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jal Sanchay has expressed concerns over disruption of global shipping and retail supply chains.
Possibility for a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas is getting stronger with each passing day. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that 90% of the deal has been agreed, but few critical issues remain. Blinken, at a press briefing in Haiti, also urged Israel and Hamas to say yes on remaining issues.
At this point, it seems to me that it's really incumbent on both parties to get to yes on these remaining issues.
On the second day of her Middle East trip, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock met with her Israeli counterpart Israel Katz in Tel Aviv on Friday. German Foreign Minister remarked that a military approach alone was not the solution to the conflict.
The past weekend has shown in a dramatic way that a purely military approach is not a solution to the situation in Gaza. As we saw last weekend, exclusively applying military pressure jeopardizes the lives of the hostages.
German Foreign Minister also met with Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa in Ramallah in West Bank. Israeli forces pulled out of the Palestinian city of Jenin on Friday following security operations in West Bank. During 9-day operation, troops fought running gun battles with Palestinian fighters from factions including Hamas and Islamic Jihad and Fatah. However, there was no official confirmation from the Israeli military on withdrawal from Jenin. Meanwhile, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said that the crisis in West Asia has generated concerns due to disruption of global shipping and retail supply chains. The minister was speaking at CII India Mediterranean Business Conclave 2024 in New Delhi.
The ongoing conflict in West Asia understandably has generated concerns about some of these contemporary initiatives. Disruptions in crucial shipping routes that have increased shipping costs and even necessitated the rerouting of trade flows. They have all added to our collective worries.
Amid all this, children in Khan Yunis received some distraction from conflict thanks to an initiative by a French NGO, Doctors of the World France. On the sideline of the ongoing polio vaccination campaign, children enjoyed song and dance, giving much-needed psychological relief. Fuzail Ahmed's report for DD India.
Let's now move on to some updates coming in from US polls. With just 2 months to go for the US elections, the Democrats are pulling ahead in the fundraising. Kamala Harris's campaign has brought in a whopping $361 million in August alone, outpacing Donald Trump's Republicans, who have raised $130 million. Now remember, that's a significant cash advantage for the Democrats as both sides scramble to win over voters. And with the stakes very high, both sides are ramping their campaigns as well. DD India's Abhishek Bose brings us more.
The excitement is building in the United States as Election Day approaches. Next week, Democrat Kamala Harris and Republican Donald Trump will face off in their first televised debate. This highly anticipated event could be a game changer, giving the winner a boost in the final stretch. Right now, most polls show Kamala Harris with a slight lead both nationally and in key battleground states. However, Donald Trump is still close enough to potentially take the win on November 5th. Meanwhile, the US election buzz is even being felt thousands of miles away in Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin in an interview said he preferred Harris over Donald Trump, citing her infectious laugh as a reason she might be less likely to impose harsh sanctions on Russia.
She has such an expressive and infectious laugh. It shows she is doing well. I mean, Trump, he's imposed more restrictions and sanctions on Russia than any president has ever imposed before. And if Mrs. Harris is doing well, maybe she will refrain from doing something like that.
After Putin's remark, the White House said Putin should stop commenting on the US elections. As the election approaches, the camaraderie between Donald Trump and tech billionaire Elon Musk becomes increasingly apparent. Speaking at the New York Economic Club, Trump has pledged to create a government efficiency commission headed by Tesla CEO Elon Musk if he emerges victorious.
At the suggestion of Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement, that's nice, smart guy. He knows what he's doing. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit. And Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force.
Renowned elections forecaster and historian Alan Lichtman has forecasted that Kamala Harris will win against Donald Trump in the upcoming presidential elections this November. Lichtman has an impressive track record, having correctly predicted the outcome of 9 out of the last 10 presidential elections. The 2024 US election will be held on November 5th. To win, a candidate needs to secure 270 electoral votes. While many states are firmly Republican or Democratic, a few key swing states will likely determine the winner. As the stage is set, it's shaping up to be a thrilling contest. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
Well, that's absolutely electrifying election fervor there in US. But staying with more news coming from US, but on a different front, that is on the job front. In August, US job growth was less than expected, with 152,000 new jobs being added, and this was below the forecast of 160,000. And despite this, the unemployment rate dropped to 4.2%, suggesting the job market is sluggish in a controlled manner. This decline in the jobless rate likely means that the Federal Reserve may not need to cut interest rates significantly this month. Job numbers often appear weaker in August due to seasonal changes like the start of the school year, which can affect hiring trends. Historically, August job figures are revised up later in the year. Layoffs are at very low levels in US, indicating the labor market remains strong. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Coming up next, Indian Prime Minister launches unique campaign on water conservation with public participation. We'll be joined by Chief Secretary in Water Conservation Ministry to discuss Modi government's vision of conservation and preservation of climate and resources. And good news on the economy front, retail inflation softens. And some climate-related news. World experiences hottest northern hemisphere summer since record-keeping began. Year 2024 will surpass 2023 as the hottest year on record.
New challenges need new strategies, and technology is already impacting the way we live and we farm.
Based on the spikes and insights which our algorithms suggest, we alert the farmers or whoever the warehouse owner is about what exactly is happening in which part of your warehouse.
The weather in Meghalaya is definitely one of the center points of how we design these systems. And let's look at all of this together in terms of what are the solar irradiance that they're getting. Try and design a system that is designed to work in that situation.
It's a pretty good living. Greenhouses have improved the lives of 80 or 90% of Almerians.
Our supply chain is farm to door. We supply traders directly, bringing benefits to both.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt. Well, move on and let's do a quick recap of the headlines we're tracking at this hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches Jal Sanchay Jan Bhagidari water harvesting and public participation initiative. Says it's time to reduce, reuse, recharge and recycle water. Ukraine presses for long-range strike support. US, Germany, Canada pledge more military aid. NATO calls for an end to Beijing's Russia backing. And US job growth misses expectations in August. Unemployment rate slips to 4.2%. Let's go straight. Ready? Okay, now let's go back to our top story on the unique water conservation campaign launched by India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And to do so, we are joined by our special guest on the show, Mr. Deepak Kumar Singh, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Bihar, Water Preservation Expert, joining us from Patna in India. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes. First of all, let's have your view on this unique campaign of water conservation and nature conservation launched by Prime Minister today, but with a very firm and definitive angle of Jan Bhagidari, public participation. In a way, the way Prime Minister pitched it today, pitching it as a public movement or a national movement of sorts. Your thought?
Yeah, see, water conservation cannot succeed without public participation. In fact, water conservation is not, it cannot be seen as a particular program. It is actually, water conservation will succeed only when it becomes a part of the lifestyle of the general population. So it is not only some building of tanks or building of the rooftop harvesting system, but it's in the everyday life when a person understands the importance of water conservation. And in each and everything, whether it is a domestic use, whether it is industrial use, whether it is water used for washing, for taking bath, everything. And apart from that, we have to understand that everybody knows that the fresh water is a very critical thing. It's a very short supply. And therefore, each and every drop of water that falls, that comes as part of the rain on this Mother Earth, has to be preserved, as a fresh water source, so that it can be used, because ultimately the food cannot be produced without water. Yeah.
You spoke about fresh water, sir. India is home to only 4% of the fresh water in the world. Having said that, we do have water resources in abundance in a way, like we have rivers, we have large geographical regions. At the same time, that remain bereft of water. There is scarcity, and water tables we've also seen is also receding at a very fast pace. So there are many challenges.
Yes, there are many challenges because you see that despite the fact that we have abundance of water resources, but at the same we have to understand that India is a vast country. So in one area there are abundance of water resources, but at the same time there are areas which does not have water source. And again, only because the rivers have water does not mean that we have abundance of water, because that water ultimately has to recharge the groundwater. So the main thing for the purpose of conservation of surface water, the purpose of conservation of rooftop water harvesting is ultimately to recharge the groundwater, and that is very important. So the water which flows into the river and ultimately goes into the sea will be of no use unless it recharges, unless it is used for recharging the groundwater.
Right, sir. And as far as today's unique campaign launched by Honorable Prime Minister is concerned, he made some very thought-provoking and visionary remarks, you would agree. But how do you see this Jal Sanchay Jan Bhagidari campaign in terms of a futuristic approach where water scarcity is combined with climate change and the kind of huge impact it can have, or it is already having, on the lives of people?
You see, certainly, I mean, in the context of Bihar, if I may say, in the Bihar, the Chief Minister of Bihar launched a Jal Jeevan Haryali campaign. That is the water, greenery and life. That this campaign was launched in the year 2019, and the basic purpose was to preserve each and every water resources. Like the state government has a policy that any water source cannot be diverted for any other use. So I must say the Honorable Prime Minister has touched it's a very prime thing. If we have to fight the climate change, if we have to ultimately make the earth secure for the future generation, water is a critical thing. So we have to save each and every drop of water, and the water conservation in the term of the surface water, because you know, with the increasing population in India, the problem is that many amount of land is being used for the habitation purpose, for industrial purposes, and the traditional water sources, they have gone down. The traditional wells which were used in the villages for the purpose, the traditional ponds which were used in the villages for the purpose of either bathing or for the purpose of bathing the animals, pet animals, they are no longer there. So it's a very laudable initiative, and I must say that he has hit the crux, and this must, as I again say, that this has to be built into our very lifestyle, of the lifestyle of each and every person, and not only lifestyle of each and every person, but into each and every project which we are executing, whether it's a road project, whether it's a building project, every project.
Okay.
Yes.
Also today, Prime Minister said that India has a potential to find solutions for itself as well as the world. And also he credited the understanding of India's ancient scriptures as far as the whole water and the way it is integral to India's traditional consciousness or culture. Your thoughts? India giving a fresh template to the world in the sense, in terms of solutions to the world as well, not only domestically, but internationally.
Definitely. You see, as I said, that India is a very vast country, and we have all kind of terrains, whether it's a desert, whether it's a hilly area, whether it's a plain area, whether it's a plateau. So the experiment which India makes will not only make an example for our country, but it will make an example for the entire world as such, because no other country is having such kind of diverse terrains. That is one thing. The second thing is that traditionally, as the Honorable Prime Minister has said, that water and the river, they have been worshipped in India from the ancient times. And this kind of worship of nature, it's very rare, which is to be found in, especially in the developed countries. So that is why India can definitely show the way to the world as to how water is to be preserved, how the nature is to be preserved, and how by preserving water, we can fight the climate change.
Prime Minister, in fact, also pointed out that even though water-related projects worth thousands of crores have been initiated in the past as well, but a kind of turnaround that is, visible on ground in the last decade or past 10 years. What kind of shift do you see has happened in this space? water preservation, water harvesting, water conservation, and making water available, to the last mile delivery?
You see, after independence, all the projects which are related to water, they were mainly aimed at harnessing the water basically for use for the purpose of agriculture. So we have seen large dams, large reservoirs which have been built, but only the large dams and the reservoirs cannot help in preserving water, because the emphasis was on the large projects so that water can be used for agriculture, for irrigation purposes, for industrial purposes, and sometimes also for drinking water purposes. But unless it is spread throughout the country, not only in terms of few large projects, but in terms of every dotted projects dotting each and every part of the country and fulfilling the local needs, till then this will not succeed. And this is what the Honorable Prime Minister, I think, is trying to tell us and to tell the world.
Okay. Your thoughts on the whole of society and whole of government approach? Do you think this has been actually path-breaking with the whole Jan Bhagidari concept?
Yes, definitely it's a path-breaking concept. And as I said, that without public participation, the Honorable Prime Minister had also given the concept of LIFE, L-I-F-E, which he had given at the conference on climate change. And that is also the same thing, that we have to change our lifestyle so as to preserve water, so as to conserve water. And therefore, the public participation is very essential. This cannot be achieved only by a few engineers making certain projects. But unless each and every person is made aware and they are made part of it, they are made an active stakeholder in this entire campaign, this will not succeed.
Your thoughts on the fact these stakeholders, and especially when we talk about Jan Bhagidari, 50% of the participation has that of being women. I mean, PM also talked about that as well. The rural aspect of it, your experience.
You see, especially the women and in the rural India, they have to bear the brunt of the shortage of water resources. You see the areas which are drier, there the women has to walk a lot of distance just for fetching water for the purpose of drinking or the purpose of domestic use. So they understand the importance of water, and certainly they have to be made an important stakeholder in this entire campaign, and it will succeed.
Sir, one final question. I'm going to digress a bit from water to overall the larger vision of Prime Minister Modi when it comes to combating climate change, following positive practices, and most importantly, the whole vision or concept of reuse, recycling. In fact, even addressing the business leaders during his Singapore tour, he elaborated on reusability and scrapping or phasing out old vehicles, moving on to electric mobility. So India basically leading the way in that space also?
Yes, definitely. And in terms of climate change, in terms of combating the climate change, you see we have taken a large number of steps. It is, if I only come to the water conservation part of this, it is not only the surface water conservation in the villages. We have also started in a large way the water conservation in the hills. And that is very important, because in the hills, if you conserve the water, it helps in two ways. Number one, it increases the greenery, which ultimately helps us in combating the climate change. And secondly, it recharges the groundwater. At the same time, we are moving on all the fronts, whether it is used of the renewable energy, not only electrical vehicle, but he has given a target of making the renewable energy a larger part, taking a larger share of our need of energy. So in all these aspects, certainly we are showing the way because you see still the per capita power consumption in India is very low, but it is increasing at a very fast pace. And if at the current stage we start using renewable energy, and the way the country is moving under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister, and the way we are using the production of the renewable energy, certainly we will be able to show the world as to how the use of fossil fuels can be brought down, how the renewable energy can be increased, and at the same time how the water can be conserved.
All right.
Yes.
On that note, thank you very much. Even in the space, when we talk of conservation, prevention, combating climate change, reusability and all that, India shows the way, and India can show the way to the world. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us on this broadcast and sharing your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And still to come on DD India News Hour, coming up next. Archer Harvinder Singh and sprinter Preeti Pal to be India's flag bearers during closing ceremony of Paris Paralympics.
New challenges need new strategies, and technology is already impacting the way we live and we farm.
Based on the spikes and insights which our algorithms suggest, we alert the farmers or whoever the warehouse owner is about what exactly is happening in which part of your warehouse.
The weather in Meghalaya definitely one of the center points of how we design these systems. And let's look at all of this together in terms of what is the solar irradiance that they're getting. Try and design a system that is designed to work in that situation.
It's a pretty good living. Greenhouses have improved the lives of 80 or 90% of Almerians.
Our supply chain is farm to door. We supply traders directly, bringing benefits to both.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we will talk about future-ready combat vehicles, a vehicle designed not just for today, but for the battlefields of tomorrow. It is a symbol of India's rising defense capabilities for the next 50 years. We will also tell you about 6716 rifle, known for its robust design and amazing combat performance in the battlefield. Watch all this on Defense Dynamics on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. IST on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Sakal, but let's move on to more international updates. United States and Iraq have reached an understanding on plans for the withdrawal of US-led coalition forces from Iraq, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. According to sources, the plan, which has been broadly agreed but requires a final go-ahead with both capitals and an announcement date, would see hundreds of troops leave by September 2025, with the remainder departing by the end of 2026. US and Iraq are also seeking to establish a new advisory relationship that could see some US troops remain in Iraq after the drawdown. An official announcement was initially scheduled for a week ago, but was postponed due to regional escalation related to Israel's conflict in Gaza and to iron out some remaining details. Shifting focus to Asia-Pacific news now, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida held bilateral talks in Seoul on Friday. Focusing on maintaining positive momentum in relationship with Japan, South Korean President said that mending ties with Japan for security cooperation remains top priority. During the summit, Prime Minister Kishida underscored the need to enhance bilateral ties between both countries. This is Kishida's last tour as Prime Minister before he steps down from his position later this month.
There are various historical and emotional ties between Japan and South Korea, but it's crucial that we continue the efforts of our predecessors who overcame difficult times and work together with South Korea towards the future.
I am pleased to reflect on the achievements made by both South Korea and Japan and discuss the future direction of our bilateral relations. Over the past year and a half, the relationship between our two countries has greatly improved based on the strong trust between the two of us. The accomplishment we have achieved together, Prime Minister, have been among the most significant since I took office as President.
The third day of the postal voting for the presidential polls concluded in Sri Lanka on Friday with high participation among government officials. Amid intense campaigning among the front-runners, government officials and Triforces officers exercised franchise at designated places in Sri Lanka. The presidential election is scheduled on 21st of September. And now we take a look at other stories making news around the world. Thailand's King Maha Vajiralongkorn sworn in as sworn in Prime Minister Petontran Shinawatra and 35 cabinet ministers in Bangkok on Friday, ushering in a new government in Southeast Asia's second largest economy after a period of political turmoil. Pope Francis receives an emotional farewell from his followers as he leaves Indonesia on Friday for Papua New Guinea. Pope also visited Istiqlal Mosque, Southeast Asia's largest, and signed a joint declaration with the National Grand Imam. In Georgia, father of suspected 14-year-old high school shooter Colt Gray made his first appearance in state court. He was charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter and 2 counts of second-degree murder and 8 counts of cruelty to children. Softening of retail inflation has started reflecting in the food plates, with prices of both vegetarian and non-vegetarian thalis witnessing a notable drop in August this year as compared to the same time last year and the previous month. CRISIL MINA research noted in their latest report. The data shows that on an actual annual basis, the cost of home-cooked vegetarian thali declined by 8%. On the other hand, the non-vegetarian thalis saw an even steeper drop of 12%. The reduction in the cost of the vegetarian thali year over year was mainly due to a dramatic 51% drop in the tomato prices, while tomato constituted 14% of the cost of the vegetarian thali in August. The month saw a declining thali cost as the prices of vegetable oil, chili and cumin, which together account for less than 5% of the vegetarian thali cost, also eased, falling by 6% to 30% and 58% respectively over the year. Indian Business and Professional Council Dubai hosted a celebratory event marking the second anniversary of the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement between India and UAE. The gathering held in Dubai on Friday showcased remarkable progress in bilateral trade and investment since the agreement's implementation. The director of UAE India SEPA Council said that comprehensive agreement has proven to be one of the most significant free trade agreements signed by India.
That the ties between the UAE and India have never been stronger, nor as constructive as they are today. Across the full spectrum of our relationship, we are witnessing both quantitative and qualitative expansion in our engagement that is to the benefit of both our peoples. A key factor behind the upward positive trajectory of our relationship has been the SEPA. The SEPA, which came into effect on 1st of May 2022, has served to only further catalyze and deepen the UAE-India partnership. The SEPA is not just a trade agreement, it is a comprehensive framework that goes beyond goods. It unlocks tariff-free trade in services and investment, providing both UAE and Indian businesses with unparalleled regulatory certainty.
You're watching DD India News Hour, and time now for some sports news. And we start with some good news in Paris Paralympics 2024. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a telephonic conversation with Paralympic Games medal winners Harvinder Singh, Kapil Parmar, Pranav Surma, Sachin Sarjao Khilari and Dharambir on Friday. Prime Minister Modi congratulated Paralympians on their victory. Prime Minister said the players winning the medal is the biggest gift to the country. Prime Minister also appreciated the efforts of the coaches that have gone behind such fantastic performances of the players. Well, India has got its 6th medal at Paralympics as India's Praveen Kumar bagged gold medal in men's high jump T64 category, clearing 2.08 meters to claim his 2nd consecutive Paralympic medal. Praveen had previously scored silver at the 2021 Tokyo Games with a personal best of 2.07 meters, marking a remarkable continuation of his success on the international stage. Praveen became only the 2nd Indian after Mariyappan Thengavelu to win gold in Paralympic high jump competitions. India's President Draupadi Murmu has extended congratulations to Praveen Kumar. President Murmu wrote on platform X, "Heartiest congratulations to Praveen Kumar on winning gold medal in men's high jump event in the Paris 2024 Paralympics. By winning medals at consecutive Paralympics with record-setting performances, Praveen has shown exceptional consistency. India is proud of Praveen. I wish he continues to scale great heights of sporting excellence in the future." unquote. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi also congratulated Praveen Kumar on winning gold medal. Prime Minister Modi posted on platform X, and I quote, "Congratulations to Praveen Kumar for scaling new heights and winning a gold in the men's high jump T64 at the Paralympics 2024 Games. His determination and tenacity have brought glory to our nation. India is proud of him," unquote. Gold medal winning para archer Harvinder Singh and sprinter Preeti Pal will be India's flag bearers during the closing ceremony of the Paris Paralympics on Sunday. Harvinder had scripted history by becoming first Indian archer to clinch a gold at the Paralympics. He had won bronze medal at Tokyo Para Games. While Preeti Pal also made history by becoming the first ever Indian woman to win 2 medals at the Paralympics, Preeti clinched 2 bronzes in women's T35, 100-meter and 200-meter competitions. With that, it's wrap up for this edition of DT India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DT India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DT India. I'm Sakal Bhatt. And from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DT India News Hour.